Hello and welcome to episode 19 of Always Patriot, the John Jay Soccer Podcast. Joined as always by Coach Robert Seipp. I am Brendan Horton. Coach, how's it going?
Doing all right, Coach. How are you?
I'm okay. Not great, but okay.
Yeah, we're recording this Saturday night, right? And it wasn't a great week for us. We beat Ketchum 2-1 on Tuesday at Ketchum, and then we were up 1-0 against Spring Valley today, 3:00 on a Saturday, but couldn't hold on and lost that game 2-1. So a little frustrating. Nice to get a 2-1 win over Ketchum, but frustrating that that we couldn't beat Spring Valley and that they got the better of us 2-1. But so we're here to talk about the week, right?
Yeah, it's it feels like two steps forward, one step back, but it's okay. It's the nature of coaching and of a season and everything like that.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good week too, because I thought on Monday we had a pretty good practice. You and I were doing a lot of teaching, I think, in practice and stopping the play and explaining to the players, what we wanted. We did a lot of film work, right? After the Ketchum game, even before the Ketchum game late last week, we did a lot of film work. So just trying to get these guys to be on the same page as us, at least mentally, right? And I think we're making progress. I feel like that's always difficult for the players because it's not a fun practice, right? I remember when I was a player and my coach would run us through drills, and I would always think, I hope I didn't say it too much because it's a little disrespectful, but I would always think, when are we scrimmaging? Can we just scrimmage? Can we just play? So I do feel bad for the players when we're always stopping it and, asking the players to freeze right where they are. And, look, you made this decision, but why? Because this is available and this is what we're looking for. And this is going to be more beneficial to our team. But for whatever reason, you and I felt like, we've had to do a lot of that this year. And even today at Spring Valley, you and I felt as though we really needed to be a lot more vocal from the sidelines, something that we don't like to do either. We like to sit back. We like to let the players play. But, we really feel as though, unfortunately, that the guys just respond when we're barking out instructions to them and encouraging them. But it is what it is. It's the beauty of coaching. You could sort of have your own style, but you kind of got to adjust to the players that you have.
100%. You have to. And I think both you and I, in a perfect world, right? Like, we would coach our games seated on the bench to kind of, analyze what's going on, take notes and kind of try to make halftime adjustments. But we saw in that first game on Ketchum this week, in the first half, we did that. And in the second half, we said, you know what, why don't we try and just really get up there and give these guys direction and give them reinforcement and give them ideas. And it was like night and day. They responded really well to it, in spite of us not really liking to do that. But like you said, you have to do what's going to be beneficial and helpful to your team. And that was, it's anecdotal, but it was a huge, huge difference. You noticed it right away at the beginning of the second half. 10 minutes into it, we said, like, we're playing much, much better. We're playing much more, focused and engaged and trying to do the things that we try to accomplish on the field. Regarding our practice on, what was it, Monday, the first practice of the week? I thought it was good. I thought that, we're making progress. We are getting better at these things. I was thinking a lot about it on my drive home from Spring Valley this afternoon, where it's like, I want to think like, man, we're not really making this progress, but really it's not the case. Like, I know we lost today, but we played definitely better. And we did try to accomplish a lot of the things with the ball, especially that we've, tried to improve upon as the season has progressed. And we just had trouble finishing. We hit the post a couple times. We had something that probably should have been a penalty. So I know we come away shut out, which is, the third or fourth time this year we've been shut out. But
well, we were up 1-0, Coach. Don't forget
sorry,
that.
excuse me. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Michael Versace threw it into Lucas Reverso, and we scored about 6 minutes into that first into the second half. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
That's okay. That's
my thoughts are all over the place.
But we don't have any video of that game too. That's a bit of a bummer. Spring Valley didn't have any video of it.
I really wish we did, because I really think we could have pulled some things we did well. Some ways that we changed the point, some ways that we played quickly, some ways that we played away from pressure and out of kind of poor numbers and things like that. So and it's really tough to sell to the guys that concept that we are improving and we are taking strides and getting better when you're coming off of a loss in a game that I'm sure they thought they were going to win.
Yeah, yeah. I thought there were some real positives today. I thought Aditya, our young freshman, was very effective for us on the outside, just running forward, being very dangerous down the flank. I thought we got Austin and Patrick the ball better out wide on the flank. I thought Austin, with his ability to use his speed out wide, was effective for us. And I think we got tripped. I felt like we got tripped in the box a couple of times. That I know is sort of a bit of a theme for us, but I think that's really important that this is now the third season and we're 9 games into it that we have not had an offensive penalty kick. And I just think it goes to the type of soccer that we're playing, and we're just not able to get in the box. We're not able to be dangerous, out wide and in that final third of the field. But I feel like today we did a much better job, and the refereeing has been fantastic. We've said this before. I know we're two of the very few coaches in the section who really think that the referees have been fantastic for us. But we go to Rockland County and we go to Orange County. It seems like we haven't been to Orange County, I think, in a couple of years. Well, I guess we went last year, but there's 3-man systems all the time in Orange County when we play over at Section 9, like Monroe Woodbury, teams like that. Yep. When we go to Goshen for that Section 1, Section 9 challenge. And today at Spring Valley, we were at North Rockland earlier in the year, 3-man system. And these guys, they really do a fantastic job. So I'm not complaining about the refereeing, but the point is that we were dangerous in that final third. I felt like we had gotten into the box a couple times in the final third and really forced Spring Valley to make some difficult decisions defensively where, I get it from a referee standpoint. I think it was like 1-0 us or 1-1, and you're going to be very hesitant as a referee, to award that penalty kick in those kind of situations. But I was very happy for us to see, man, a couple times we really could have been awarded a penalty kick. It just is an indication that we're getting forward in that final third of the field. We're dangerous in that final third of the field. We're creating chances in that final third of the field, and I really thought we did it today. Coach, especially in the second half, I know you and I were talking as we were walking off the field after the game. I thought we really played well in the second half. I thought we only really gave them 2 chances against us, and unfortunately they stuck both of them in, and they weren't even really great chances, right? They were sort of like counters on us. I feel like we were really down in their end the entire 40 minutes. I think that our fitness, I think, was better than Spring Valley. Spring Valley's got a good team, but I think our fitness was good, and Spring Valley guys were asking for subs, and they were down injured. So I was just really impressed with how we played in that second half. But, unfortunately, we were able to get the 1 goal, but it was off of a throw-in. And in the flow of play, we just, for whatever reason, we're not quite there, but we are close. A couple times we hit the post, a couple times we hit the crossbar. We were right there a couple times. I felt like we had gotten fouled in the box. So we're getting close, but, 2 losses and 1 tie in the league. We're in trouble now for a league title. Yeah.
Yeah. And league title is off the table. But I mean, I think you're right. And I think the big challenge is going to be being able to convince the players that this is the case. Like, we are making progress. Like I said, sometimes it does feel like 2 steps forward and 1 step back because there are other issues, with our play. But yeah, definitely we played better. And Spring Valley, they put the ball down. They play good soccer. I don't know what their record is, but they play good quality soccer. And the same thing with their JV team this morning. They came to us and had a good solid JV team. We were there for some of that before the bus left to go down there. But it's going to be, and I understand that it's frustrating to convince the players that, because I had to convince myself it too, right? Like, when I was talking to you after the game, I was very, very down, and it was just some emotions being disappointed in the result. But, we've sat here and said it over and over again that we want to be more about the product, the process than the product, right? So we did play better soccer, right? We played much better soccer today than in several of the games we've won.
Yeah, and
period.
Yeah. But it is frustrating. I mean, I've got my own son, that I'm living with, and he's frustrated too. You could just tell it, in his body language, and sitting at the dinner table. I mean, he's frustrated. I thought he played well. I'll tell you, the Spring Valley coach at the end of the game, I don't know if you heard him, but he, through the handshake, he said to me, he said, man, at 46, what a player. 46 is Austin. I thought Austin had a really good game. He was dominant in the air. He got his head on some balls, and had some good chances at goal. But I think one of the times he hit the crossbar, he had a set piece that he just ripped, but it deflected off of somebody in the wall. So we're getting there, but it is frustrating. It's frustrating for the players. It's frustrating for us as coaches, and especially the seniors. Right, Austin's a senior. I mean, this is his last chance. At playing soccer. For his high school and playing soccer for his dad, and so it's sort of heartbreaking to see him frustrated. But like you said, we just have to convince the players and ourselves that we are getting better and we are making progress. And I thought we played a great second half today. But let's actually go back to the Ketchum game on Tuesday, right? Let's try to go in order. Feel sorry for the people listening to this. The first 11 minutes we're sort of all over the place here. Actually, we're talking about today's game at Spring Valley that we lost 2-1 more than the game on Tuesday. So we'll sort of go in order. On Tuesday we were at Ketchum, right? And we did not play well in that first half. And we talked about at halftime, just for whatever reason, the energy wasn't there. Our intensity wasn't there. And you and I had made a decision. We didn't tell the players at halftime. The ironic thing was, this is a little side story for anybody listening who's played at Ketchum before. They've got a new speaker system there, right? Remember this, Coach? And halftime comes, we sort of walk down, to the corner, we get in some shade, and they start blaring this music. I'm screaming at the top of my lungs to the players. And
it was
finally,
like being at a concert.
Yeah. Finally, I just gave up. I just, shrugged my shoulders. I said to the guys, "Who's the principal of this school? What the hell's going on here? They're trying to drown us out." So we did the best we could, screaming at the guys and bringing the guys close, and just trying to get, our message across that, we just knew that they could play faster and quicker and with more intensity and keep better possession of the ball and, put Ketchum under pressure. And then, as we walked back to the bench for the second half, I don't know why you and I decided it, but we were like, you know what? I think we just need to get up on the sidelines, and I think we just need to encourage these guys and just actively coach them. And I know we both don't like to do it. Truth be told, Coach, I hate to do it. I feel like an idiot. I feel obnoxious. I feel like it's all about me. So I just really hate to do it, but you and I just felt as though our players needed it, and boy, did they respond. Immediately they responded and really played a really good second half of soccer against Ketchum. Went up 2-0. Again, creating some really good chances. We gave up a goal with like 20 seconds to go in the game. So it was really kind of a 2-0 victory for us. But it was a really good second half that I thought we played in large part, I think, not to give us credit, but because we were just on the sidelines encouraging them. Play quick, move off the ball, create a passing lane, know what you're going to do with it, get that ball out wide into space, have a good first touch, pressure the ball, step up and pressure the ball. I thought that the same was true today at Spring Valley. We just really had a good second half. We just really were all over them. But, the result wasn't the same today in Spring Valley.
Yeah, it very much that way. That was the case, where, they responded to just us being, all over them and kind of barking at them. And I know I hate it too, because it's not the way I like to coach or what I want to do. I want to, reinforce all those things at practice and then kind of see on game day what we're able to do. And unfortunately, it's not as much as we'd like to without this constant reinforcement from the sidelines and encouragement and directions and things like that. So, a lot of coaches will say, well, you're not allowing them to make decisions. Well, we gave them plenty of time to make decisions and they just make terrible ones. So I think that's going to be our approach for the rest of the season, at least, because with this group and with other groups we've had in the past, they just respond better to that active, involved coaching from the sidelines during games.
Yeah, and I don't understand, maybe this is for you and I to talk more off air instead of on a podcast, but I don't understand like why that is when when we sit down and we're quiet and we allow the players that freedom to play. They're just, to me, they seem so unsure of themselves. They seem so hesitant. They seem not confident. And we've got good soccer players. These kids have played, high level travel soccer for years. But for whatever reason, they just seem to be very hesitant, and they don't talk out there. We've told the stories multiple times. One of the, Jeff Mateo played down at St. John's, and I was a very young coach, and I remember going down to watch Jeff play. I've told the players his story, for years. And I pulled into the St. John's parking lot. It's a September night, beautiful night. I'm a very poor, young teacher. I don't have a car with air conditioning, so I got the windows rolled down, and I park in the parking lot. And I'm probably, I don't know, 300 yards away from the field. I can't even see the field, It's not the St. John's field that they have today, but, back, this is, probably 30 years ago. And I pull into the parking lot and I turn off my car, and I tell the players this all the time. I could hear the soccer game being played. And they were playing Rutgers, I believe. Doesn't matter though. I could just hear, play, change it, play, you got me back, move it, wide, 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 wide. I got ball, pressure, real, force wide, force wide, force wide. I mean, just 8, 10, 15 guys just yelling and barking. And as I walk to the field and get closer and closer, I hear this louder and louder. But the point is, I'm 300 yards away in a parking lot. I cannot even see the field, and I can hear that I am late to the game. I can hear the soccer game being played. And when our guys play, it's like a library out there, right? I mean, nobody's saying anything. For whatever reason, I just feel like they play that way. They play very unsure. They play very, so maybe us just out there barking at them gives them that feel of the St. John's Rutgers, Division I men's college
Right.
soccer, and they're just up on their toes and they're just, more active.
Right.
So I guess it takes you and I to sort of start that conversation. We don't like to do it. We don't want to do it. We wish that our players would be more active doing it, but we just, for whatever reason, got a very, very quiet group, and that quiet play just leads itself to, very hesitant, very unsure, very back on your heels sort of soccer. And that doesn't win at any level, but especially at the high school varsity level. You have got to be aggressive. You've got to know what you're doing with that first touch. You've got to take that ball like we're talking about today at Spring Valley and just be aggressive, in that final third of the field. Be dangerous in that final third of the field. Look to create quality chances, in that final third of the field. Beg for the ball. If we've got 3 or 4 guys begging for the ball because they think they're in a really good spot, to help our team, that's awesome, right? Versus nobody saying anything. The guy with the ball doesn't have any options, right?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me, just hearing you say that, right? Why are we having to bark from the sidelines to that? Because they're just not doing it, right? Like, in a perfect world, we would have 7, 8, 9 guys on the field doing all that, and we encourage them to. But like you said, our guys play in relative silence. The only time they speak up is when someone, has like a missed touch and they get on each other. So it's like quite the opposite of what we want, and it's something that I guess we should definitely address again. But yeah, even when we practice, it's just so quiet. And we say to them all the time, right? We should have 3, 4 different guys all screaming for the ball, so that you're not just playing to the one guy who says to play it to him, making it
Yeah.
very obvious and very easy to defend and stuff like that. But, we are having to coach that way because we're filling a void, like a big void that's there left by our players, from really not helping all their teammates out, right? Whether it's telling them, defensive help, or where to look, or what to do, or a reminder or something like that. It's all having to come from us on the sidelines, unfortunately. But at least there is some positive that comes from it, in the sense that they do respond well to it. So if we can get the players out there doing it a little bit more, maybe that we can kind of ease off of that a little bit. But we'll see, right?
Yeah, and you are right. When our guys do talk, it's out of frustration. I mean, like, come on, guys, we got to have a better touch, or come on, you got. And you're right. That's definitely not what we want. And we've tried to address that. We had Dr. Brandon Beck on a couple weeks ago. Just talking about leadership and talking about developing captains, and by talking with him, you and I came up with an idea of, instead of having captains, let's have like a leadership council. And I think we've got 9 guys in that leadership council, and we send them emails, right? We send them videos, we send them articles to read, and then we meet, after, we assign the article for them to read, or the video for them to watch, and just try to encourage them, to be really good leaders. And this is stuff like, Mark Messier and Harry Carson from the Giants, and just, trying to take those pieces and teach these guys, how to be leaders. But it's tough, and they are high school kids, and it does get frustrating. And, especially when you're down, like today we were down 2-1. And I remember, as we're taking the kickoff after being down 2-1, one of our players was, at midfield ready to take the kickoff, and he was kind of complaining. He's like, come on, guys, we got to play better. And, I yelled out there, like, now's not the time to, let's just, we got 7 minutes left. Let's give it our best, for these 7 minutes. And we did, I mean, we pounded, Spring Valley in that final third of the field. But for whatever reason, yeah, we just don't seem to have those, those great leaders that will step up and will talk and will, be active and try to be a part of the solution immediately while it's happening. Play me the ball here, give me the ball right here. I want the ball right here. And when they don't get it, it's okay, because hopefully there's other options, and you got to trust the guy with the ball to make those good decisions.
Yeah.
And it's tough. And just you and I know, for coaching so many years, the most successful teams have those great leaders.
Mhm.
What one of the stories that we told the leadership council about was Eric Zagley, and Eric Zagley's career at John Jay, but especially his senior year, and just how as a leader he would step up in team meetings, and he would step up and just really lead the guys in some difficult times and some difficult situations. And that's when you need the leaders the most. In those tough spots, you
Mhm.
need guys to say, hey, keep the faith, keep working hard, let's just try to make good decisions. Let's try to get one more good chance at goal. And hopefully, that'll be the difference, as opposed to, thinking about what happened and what we just missed, but it's tough. It's not easy, coach,
Yeah.
working with high school guys.
It takes a tremendous level of bravery, twofold. One, to want the ball, and want to be someone who's going to make an impact. All right. It's really difficult. It takes a lot of bravery, and it takes a lot of bravery to be like a dissenting voice, to refocus your peers, to what the coaches want and what the message is, especially when the chips are down, right? When things are hard. It's very easy to be a leader when things are going well, so when we're out there and we're beating Scarsdale, we're beating Arlington, even if we're not playing well, it's very easy to be a leader and walk around with your shoulders back and your head high then. It's tough to be a leader on days like today, and today is when you really need them. Right. So again, as with many things, I feel like every week I'm sitting here going, this is a work in progress. But that, like you said, it's the nature of working with teenagers, right? Like it's an ever evolving landscape of issues and things that you've got to navigate, socially and tactically and technically, and everything like that. But we really do need players, or even a player, to really kind of fulfill that role, because right now, it does feel at times like that extension of us is not out there on the field. And that's not meant to be a criticism or anything like that. You're talking about something that is a rarity, and something that, you don't always find every day or every year. But we are desperately looking for, that to kind of be the extension of us through the team. And so far, now that we're more than midway through the season, we're still kind of lacking that. And I think that we're definitely negatively impacted by that, for sure. And I don't think it's a matter of like unwillingness. Like I said, it's incredibly difficult. It takes a tremendous level of bravery to be the one who's gonna. It's so easy to just fall in line with what everybody is thinking, and frustration and things like that, right? It's so easy when you go down 2-1 to start pointing fingers, and even if it's at yourself, frustration, rather than, to lift up 10 of your teammates on the field and refocus them all. So many have a tough enough time just refocusing themselves. I was saying earlier, I had a difficult time after the game, even in just talking with you, and like kind of just getting over that emotional hump and trying to be objective about what just happened over the last 2 hours. But it is something that we would largely benefit from. And I do think, hopefully guys are up for the task over these next couple of weeks. Because at this point in the season, this is just a very short couple of weeks where we need to get improve as much as we possibly can in this time period, right? We have no chance at winning a league title. So it's try and play as well as we can, try and earn as good of a seed as we can in the sectional tournament. And then hopefully when that tournament rolls around, be playing our best soccer. Good news, I do think we're playing better than we were 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
Or
I
3 weeks
agree.
ago. We definitely are, right? Like I know we beat some really good teams playing poorly, and now we've kind of tied and lost playing better. But at the end of the day, again, it's about the process. And if we continue to play good soccer, we will come out on the right end of results.
Yeah, and we talked about before this podcast started, you and I off air about maybe some of the things that we could do, to try to help us create some more scoring chances and to try to get more balls in the back of the net, and this past week in practice, we did do a lot of stopping the play and instructing the players. And we did a couple of days, we did, building out of the back, because that's something that we sort of gotten away from. We're just sort of, booting the ball down the field, as opposed to, just looking for the best option and swinging the ball in the back and playing short off of the goal kick if the opportunity presents itself. So, in practice for a couple of days, we did like, 7, 3 defenders, 4 midfielders, whatever, and just trying to build out of the back, against, 3 or 4 or 5, 5 guys, and trying to just get that ball up to midfield, which I thought was productive. And then we flipped it around and we said, all right, let's put now 6 attacking players on the field, and, maybe 4 defenders. And now let's see if, now we're in that final third of the field. Let's see if we can be patient, and make some diagonal runs. We talked about maybe making some diagonal runs in front of the ball and drawing, some defenders out of some spaces for some guys where they could fill space. But now I think you and I, like I said, we're just talking off air about, maybe just, putting the goals in practice a little closer together and just letting the guys play a little bit where we're not stopping it, and just looking for those opportunities where, you have a window, get that shot off. Because I think, Lucas Reverso today, one of our best players, our goal scorer today, but he scored a goal, off of a throw-in from Michael Versace, off of his head, off of Lucas's head. He's very good in the air, but he's also one of our best ball strikers. And I just remember, him having the ball and going to goal, and his momentum's going to goal. And I don't know, because I'm 70 yards away, so I don't know exactly how close he was to the goal. But I mean, everything was working for him. He's got the ball on his right foot. His momentum's going forward. He's closing in on the penalty area. And when he gets closed down by defenders, I just remember him passing it, and I was just, and I yelled out there like, Lucas, like,
Shoot the ball.
you got everything going, and it's not going to get any better than that. You're not going to find a better opportunity. You're one of our best strikers of the ball. The ball's on your right foot. Your momentum's going towards goal, and that's the time to shoot, versus sometimes guys get the ball and, their momentum's going to the sidelines and it's on their weak foot, and they turn around and try to rip it. And it's like, it bounces 3 times before it gets to the goalie. It's like, what are you doing? So I think maybe just putting our guys, we don't have a lot of practices this week. Geez, I think we just have 2 practices now that I think about it, right? We play Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday this week. Monday, we host Ramapo at 5. Wednesday, we host North Rockland at 5. Friday, we go to Arlington at 5. And then Saturday morning, early, Spring Valley comes back to us.
9 a.m.
Yeah. So we've got four games this week, so we'll only have 2 days to practice. But in those practices, I think we'll just try to, simulate for guys, hey, you're in the final third of the field, so maybe put the goals 30, 40 yards apart. So, really no matter where you are on the field, you're 20, 30 yards from the goal. And if you've got a good opportunity and if you've got a window, where you can get off that shot, get off the shot, and then other guys can go crashing on the goal. We've said that multiple times, like you want to pass it to a guy. Yeah, pass it off of the post to the guy or pass it off of the goalkeeper's hands. When the goalkeeper makes a save from your shot and he spills a rebound,
Yeah.
then the guy that you want to pass to, he'll be able to, pick up that ball and stick it in the back of the net. But sometimes just our unwillingness to shoot. And maybe, coach, maybe we're coming up with the answers right now as we're talking on this podcast. Maybe it's tied to our confidence and our lack of confidence. And maybe it's tied to our communication and our lack of communication. And guys just aren't talking out there, and guys just aren't being aggressive, and guys are playing too tentative. So that's why we have to get up on the sidelines and clap our hands and just encourage them and say, hey, let's go. Come on, be on your toes, play nice and quick, basically saying to our players without physically mouthing the words, you can do this. You guys are good players. You can play quick. You can play fast. You can keep possession of the ball. You can get the ball in dangerous areas in that final third of the field. You can create good scoring chances, and then believe in yourself, that you could stick the ball in the back of the net. And if you don't stick the ball in the back of the net, just let that strengthen your resolve for the next opportunity. You know what, man, I just missed that one, but freaking time, the next time I get that ball, there's no doubt that ball's going to be stuck in the back of
And
the net.
we've spent so much time trying to address our season woes and just creating chances. So now we've done a better job at creating chances.
True. Very
Now we
true.
can really focus on trying to finish those chances, right? Like earlier in the season, we were not worried about difficulties finishing because those opportunities weren't even presenting
Great
themselves.
point.
All right.
Great
But
point.
we were able to, in the last several games, create a bunch of chances. So now if we can sustain that and then work on our finishing, work on our confidence, work on our, ability to make good decisions in that final third, maybe we'll have something going for ourselves. But, just as you were going through that, I was like, well, this wasn't an issue 3 weeks ago because we couldn't even create chances, right? We were just, hoping that we would get a corner kick or a set piece or something like that. But now in the flow of play, we are able to generate some chances. And yeah, we've had some finishing issues, but that's okay because as long as we're continuing to create chances, if that's not like our primary concern and an issue where we're able to, through quality play, create chances, we can work on finishing and we can dedicate a good amount of practice time to that. And I think that it'll be something that, reaps benefits, hopefully as soon as this week.
Yeah, yeah, it's a great point that you bring up because you're right. We were complaining about, not being able to create chances a couple weeks ago, but that is not an issue anymore. At least the last couple games, especially today down at Spring Valley, we created a bunch of those chances, and like we talked about, we thought we maybe earned a penalty kick or two, which we haven't done in 3 seasons. So,
One of
so,
these days.
so, but to your point, coach, we are now getting in the box. We are now making progress. We are now, being more dangerous in that final third of the field. And, now, like you say, I mean, just maybe it makes sense that, we're struggling finishing because we're never freaking in the box, so we're never in that final third of the field. We've got so many good midfielders and we've always been so good at sort of keeping possession, but for what, it just doesn't seem to result in quality chances for ourselves. But now finally, I think 9 games into our season here, 6-2-1 we are, we're finally creating those chances in that final third of the field. And now to your point, now we gotta stick them in the back of the net, and to be honest, that's kind of the easy thing, like we talked about, you get a window to shoot, freaking rip it, let that ball go. And, what's the worst that's going to happen? It's going to deflect off of somebody and we're going to get a corner kick out of it.
Yeah, 100%. We had bigger issues early in the year that we've really spent a ton of time on, like you had said, trying to build out of the back, trying to just keep the ball, trying to change the point of attack. Like, I don't think it's like any fault of our own, right? If you can't do those things, you're not going to create chances to finish. And we have definitely made improvements there. So now, it's time to kind of put that last piece of the puzzle and stick the ball in the back of the net. And like you've said, like we have guys who are capable. We have talented players. It's just a matter of kind of coaching them, right? We've said this year, right? They're very coachable, but they do need a lot of coaching, right? We have, like I said, guys who are talented, but guys who, don't necessarily make the best decisions. There's some head scratching things. But through coaching, they are eager to learn and improve. And I think, I'm excited for our 2 practice sessions this week. I'm hoping that we can come out and, show our ability to finish and that we can, utilize the talent that we have on the field, in our 4 matches this week.
Yeah, listen, we have guys that can finish, right? There's no doubt about it. We've got guys that can finish. It's just, whether it's a confidence thing, whether it's a willingness just to shoot when you have a window. I'm not too sure what it is. But can we talk about two more things before we sign off here today? I just came to my mind, and not in any particular order. One, defending. How good were we defending today? So the first 10 minutes, this was like first 10 or 15 minutes, Spring Valley looked like the men's national team, right? They looked like the Brazilian national team. I mean, they were knocking the ball and they had all kinds of possession. And you and I, stood up on the sidelines and said, you gotta pressure the ball. We got to get up and pressure the ball. And we were able to ramp up our pressure defensively, not fouling, not diving in, but just ramping up our pressure defensively. And all of a sudden, Spring Valley didn't look all that good anymore, right? And they were stringing passes together like it was going out of style. There was one time, I had mentioned it at halftime, and I feel like it was Lucas Reverso and Austin Seipp. They were near our bench, and somebody had played the ball, I can't remember, down the flank, or I don't know if it was a bad pass or if Austin or Lucas had a bad touch. I forget what, but it sort of went rolling towards the corner flag. And both Lucas and Austin sort of dropped their shoulders like, oh, whether they made the mistake or whether somebody had passed them a bad ball, I can't remember. But I remember like frantically yelling at them, like, pressure the ball, just pressure the ball. It's okay. You lost it. I get it. Whatever the mistake was, again, I can't even remember this mistake. That's a point of the story as well, right? I don't even remember what happened. Who cares what happened? Just the Spring Valley player was running back to get the ball. He was facing his own corner flag, and Lucas and Austin, who were right near our bench, they were jogging, but they weren't like immediately pressing. And I screamed at them both, get over there, pressure the ball, get on the ball. And it was too late, right? The Spring Valley guy got back there, collected the ball, turned around, faced up. And as Austin and Lucas came at him, he split them. And then,
It's like ping,
ping, ping, ping. And before you know it, the ball was in the center circle and they were going in the other direction. And I screamed, like, you have to pressure that ball. That the value of not pressuring that ball. We had them pinned in their own corner. You two guys didn't pressure the ball, and now they are countering on us, going across midfield. And I think that sort of woke up those two players, but really the entire team. And it's not an indication of Lucas and Austin just being lazy. It's just for whatever reason, sometimes players just drop their shoulders or drop their head, and it's like, oh, I didn't get the ball. Who cares? Put the opposing team under pressure. And we did that after the first 10 or 15 minutes and completely changed the complexion of the game. We didn't have video of the Spring Valley game, unfortunately, no local live, no huddle. If I would have known that, I might have brought my own camera, but regardless, we don't have any video of the game. But I was thinking the first 10 or 15 minutes, like, man, they are killing us with completed passes, right? They're just killing us with completed passes. But after 10 or 15 minutes of us ramping up our defensive pressure, no more. I mean, we made it really difficult for them to keep possession and to string passes together. And then all of a sudden we had the ball, we had possession, and then they were running all over the place defending. And I had already said it in the second half, they were dropping like flies, right? I mean, 3 or 4 times the referee had to stop the game and had to, bring the trainer out because guys were cramping up on the Spring Valley side, not on our side. But on their side. So just the defensive pressure that we've been able to bring consistently throughout the course of the summer and the fall has been really impressive. I know I'm long-winded here, Coach. That's one thing. But the second thing I was really impressed with our group about is we lost today 2-1. No yellow cards. Nobody screaming at the refs. Nobody blaming the refs. Nobody blaming each other. Our guys have done such a good job of being disappointed for sure. That we had lost today, and sort of realizing that any slim chance, that maybe we had of possibly winning the league this year is gone now. But everybody kept their cool. Nobody, was a crybaby. Nobody got any cards. I can't even remember the last time we got a yellow card, right? And we just played a game against Ketchum. I mean, these competitive games. So really kudos to our guys for keeping their composure and just playing soccer and staying focused and being really good kids and really coachable kids. We've definitely got a good group. We've said this from the beginning of the summer, and I still think it's true today that we really, really have a good group. And kudos to them for just keeping their heads and keeping their composure under really difficult times. And we say it all the time, adversity reveals character. And today we lost a tough league game. I wasn't embarrassed by anybody's behavior on that team, and I'm not too sure why, but one of the referees came to me after the game, right after the final whistle blew, just as he was leaving, and he said something along the lines of, "Coach, you restored my faith in high school coaching," and I didn't really know why he said that, and I sort of wish I would have asked him, like, "Well, what do you mean?" Like, and I don't know what he means. I have no idea, but I have a feeling that he was impressed like I was impressed with our team. Like we had lost a real tough game, but we took it like men, right? We took it like men, and you know what? We did the best we could. We threw everything we had at Spring Valley. We didn't get it done. You know, they were very excited to beat us, but we kept our composure. You know, kept our wits about us. No cards, no yelling, nothing.
Yeah.
There was
No,
nothing that we did that I was embarrassed about
not
at
even
all.
like a caution or anything like
Yeah.
that. You're right.
Yep.
I didn't think about that. That's really, really good. And it's something to certainly be proud of and complimentary of our players. You know, I think that's really, really a good thing because how many times have we had so many issues with that? You're absolutely right. You know, it's a tough game to lose today, and our guys really, really handled themselves well. And that has not always been the case in teams that we've had. So absolutely, I think that that's an amazing compliment to pay to those guys. And just to reiterate on your first point, we go as our defensive pressure goes, right? As our press. When we press the ball well, the way that we're capable of, we're better with the ball. It's just
Yeah.
that simple. Like
Yeah.
there's such a strong positive correlation between those things that I don't know if the players see it, but it's so, so true.
Yeah.
And we told them at halftime, that was the biggest change in those first 10,
Yeah.
15 minutes when we were getting killed. And the last 25 minutes of that first half, when things started to swing our way a little bit, it was really just about us putting pressure on them.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
agree.
and if we can kind of sustain that and maybe start it from the opening whistle, because we've had a lot of games this year where we just start slow and sluggish and kind of luckily don't fall behind. We did against Portchester that one game, but other games we've just started slow and sluggish and had bad first 10, 20, even 40 minutes of the game. You know, I know guys were on the sidelines kind of complaining about, yeah, you know, to each other, not, you know, respectfully about like, you know, we need to be more focused when we get here or et cetera. I thought we were today. I don't know. I had no issue with how our guys were warming up. They seemed to, you know, be focused and ready and trying. It's just we just need to figure out how to come out from the opening whistle and play the level of soccer and quality of soccer and, you know, the effort of defending that we are capable of and that you and I kind of demand.
Yeah. Yeah. And just back to our behavior at the end of the game and just, you know, being really good in these adversity situations. Our naysayers, crazy coach, but we've got a couple of naysayers out there, would probably say something like, "Oh, good coach, like Coach Horton, you're developing good losers." I completely disagree. When
No.
you lose, but you lose respectfully, you learn. You're understanding what went wrong in the game. You're strengthening your resolve for the next time. So we're not happy that we lost. We're not happy that, you know, that our guys are good little altar boys, you know, at the end of the game in a loss. But we are happy that our guys are able to keep it in perspective and keep their focus and saying, hey, you know what? This is not the end of the line. You know, maybe it's the end of the league, you know, title that we possibly had hopes for, you know, so goal number one is out the window for us, but there's still more soccer to play, you know, and we're not happy that we're losing. We're not happy that, you know, we're quote unquote good losers, but we're just happy that, you know, when we do lose, we can keep it in perspective and we can keep our focus and we can learn, you know, from losing and just make ourselves a little bit better. And like we've just talked about on this podcast for 40 some odd minutes, you know, just creating better chances at goal and then just trying to finish those better chances, you know. So I think it's coming, Coach. I know
I,
we're the
I
eternal optimists, you and I, you know, we just still
yeah.
think, you know, better days are ahead of us
So
here.
just two quick things there, you know, for the people who would say those things, you know, at the end of the day, and for anyone, right? Like we coach a soccer team. We're trying to teach, you know, teenagers how to play good soccer, how to, you know, to make them better technically, tactically, and everything like that. But at the end of the day, like we're both teachers, we both work with teenagers. We want to develop good young men, you know. We try to set good examples. We try to hold them to a standard to encourage them to do what's right. It's a huge uphill battle with teenagers. It always is. But anytime that they do, hold to that standard and behave in a way that you can be proud of, they deserve that praise. And I couldn't agree more. I didn't think of it until you said it, but you really, you have to learn how to deal with adversity and how to deal with setback and how to deal with disappointment and loss and things like that. There's
Part
so
of life,
many,
yeah.
yeah, there's so many life lessons to be learned there where like, if you can't handle losing a soccer game on a Saturday afternoon, what's going to happen when like a real setback happens? Oh, so it's good to take those as learning moments. And I'll never forget, I want to say you would come to a captain's practice when you were first becoming the John Jay head coach, and I was an incoming ninth grader. And you talked to all the players. We were at the complex on 52, and you brought everybody in and we're talking and introducing yourself and everything like that. And after you got done telling us how we were going to win every game by 4 goals, and then just start dumping the ball wide, you talked about, and I'll never forget this. And I've used it on a ton of coaches. You said, when you win, you teach, and when you lose, you learn. And if you're going to lose and you don't learn anything, you just wasted that loss, right? Like if you lose and don't learn anything from it, what a waste, right? You have to come away with something from that, in the same way that when you win, you should have taught that other team something about you and something about themselves. So if we come away from today and don't learn anything that we can take and apply to the future, about whether it's, we learned today that, listen, our guys are able to deal with setbacks and loss and issues like that. Guess what? 2 summers ago, we couldn't.
Yeah,
Right. So
so true.
that's
Yeah,
huge progress, right? 2 summers ago, when we were eliminated from the Lakeland Summer League by Ardsley, and our guys like can't handle it and start acting
yeah,
like babies,
yeah.
like, there wasn't an inkling of that today. So that's huge, and it's a lot of the same players too, right? So that's huge progress.
Great
Um,
point.
so we've talked about what we've learned about, us creating chances and us being able to finish, but to learn that, because at the end of the day, right, like the number of players that you have who are going to go on and like play professionally is slim to none, right? I know you've been fortunate enough to have several, and we have
Couple. I wouldn't say
well,
several, a couple.
well, and we have Ray now and
Right.
John Luca and stuff, but everybody is going to go on into adulthood and be able to hopefully take lessons that they've learned on the soccer field and apply them, even if it's subconsciously and they
Yeah.
don't know they're doing it, right? Whether it's a setback in school, a setback with a girlfriend, a setback at a job or with your family, or anything like that, and be able to kind of shoulder the weight of it and come out stronger and work towards a better future result. That's really what this is about, right? I mean, that's really what all of this is about, right? It's one of the
It's a,
biggest
it's a
reasons we're teachers and coaches.
Yeah, it's a great point, and I didn't remember, saying that to the group, but thank you for sharing that. Can we close on one last story, Coach?
Of
Can you
course.
can you tell everybody the story of you and Delaney going to Hopewell Hot Bagels the other morning?
So yeah, so yeah,
This is somebody dealing with setback, right? This
yeah,
is you
yes.
teaching your 4-year-old daughter. Go ahead. I love
Yeah,
this
so
story.
so I take my daughter Delaney out to Hopewell Hot Bagels every Saturday and or Sunday morning, like between 7 and 8 o'clock. So we get a bagel, we sit there, we eat some nice daddy-daughter time. There's like 9 tables in there, and she loves to sit in the middle table. She calls it the middle spot. She's so pumped. She talks about it from the minute we leave. I hope we get our middle spot. And we almost always do, because it's 7 a.m. There's a ton of people picking up and leaving and stuff, but there's not a lot of people sitting there. So this past Saturday, first of all, she refused to go to soccer, so we didn't do that. So instead, we went we went to Hopewell Hot Bagels, and we got there. And whenever I get in line, and she usually runs in and she slaps her water bottle right on the table, and she comes out and she's like, "Dad, we got our middle spot." But she came out so dejected while we were online, just moping. She's like, "Dad, someone's in our middle spot." And all I said to her is I said, "Life is full of disappointment, kid." Like, and I said, if this is the worst thing that happens today, we're having a great day. And there was a dad in front of me, a line, who just looked back and he smiled and laughed. And he said, "You're right." I said, "Yeah, like if this is the worst thing that happens to us today, where we got to pick a different spot, we're doing great." And it's very similar with, like, if the worst thing happens to you today is you lose a soccer game. I know, listen, we bleed this stuff. I get the
Yeah. Yeah.
disappointment, right? And the loss of sleep and everything. But keeping things in perspective is so important, and being able to deal with setback and adversity and disappointment. Life is full of it, whether you are the best person or the worst person. Unfortunately, it's not the better person you are, the less you're going to have to deal with disappointment or adversity or setback. So the quality of life you're going to have is going to depend on your ability to cope with when things are not going well, because it's like we talked about with leadership early. It's easy to be a good leader when things are going great. It's easy to be happy and content when you're winning all the
Yeah.
time, right?
Yeah.
But how you deal with the learning moments and the setback and the difficulty and the challenge, that's what determines, who you are. And like you said, that it reveals your character. And 4 years old, I don't care. I want her to learn that to be,
It's a great
um,
story. I love it. I
yeah,
love it.
yeah,
I love it. All right, Coach. Well, good to talk to you again about the week of soccer. Looking forward to this week. Like I said, we got 4 games, 3 of them home, 1 of them at Arlington. So we'll do it again next week. What do you say?
absolutely.
All
Hopefully we're
right.
here talking about the progress we've made finishing and everything like that. And, a little more upbeat. Hopefully we do some teaching this week and less
There
learning,
you go. Fingers
right?
crossed we come back
Yeah.
4-0, right? Right.
Yeah. Playing good soccer,
There you
all
go.
right?
There you go.
So thank you everyone for tuning in. We will see you next week. And, that's it. Episode 19 in the books.
Have a good week, everybody.
Yep. All right. Bye-bye.